Alright, in this example we're going to do the entrance into Mobile, and it's an inbound run, and the ship is, this is our instructor station. I've got her on a heading of 014, so we've made the sea buoy and we've made the first turn off that initial heading of about 020, then to 013. We're in the 014 section of it on the approach into Fort Monroe. Okay, simulator's lit off. 014 on autopilot. We're on a slow bell on this container ship. That's right around 014. So we're gonna turn off these VRMs and EBLs that are on here, and I'm using the mouse on the keyboard. So here's my first set of buoys up here. I'm going to go up to the 3-mile scale so you can get oriented on the radar. We can see the point here with the fort on it. We can see the 18 buoy. We can see the channel. We want to lay, first we're going to put in our VRM, and we're going to put an offset EBL off that VRM. So VRM at 0.06, half of our 0.12 channel. EBL, I'm going to use it for an offset. EBL offset. It's a two-handed operation on this radar. I have to zoom in now on own ship, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that electronic bearing line and I'm going to stick it over here on the side of the VRM, and I'm going to bring this around to 014, and that's 014 right there in a tenth. So this is my simple one for the first part of the day here. I don't have to have two, I can just have one. I can see that I'm already setting across the channel. I have wind and it's affecting the ship. There's 15 knots out of the east and it's foggy. I'm going to reduce the wind a little bit. I'm going to make the wind 12 knots sustained. The visibility is 0. Okay, ship's on autopilot. I commanded her to steer 012, which is 4 degrees of off angle, and you can see the head flashes now working itself to port across the channel. The day marker, in this case the buoy up ahead, is inside of our parallel index line, and we want to drive the ship across the channel and get that buoy on the other side of the parallel index line so we know we're back in the channel. This is the area in question right here. So we want this buoy to be over here, and that buoy up that's just emerging, it also needs to be over here. So we are really getting out of position here. We want to ease ourselves back over, and I'm looking at the autopilot and it's steering back to starboard. Let's see, it's difficult to see what it's doing. It's checking. The autopilot's checking, so I'll let it do its business. So right now we got the head flash along on the west side of the channel. We have 1 degree a minute rate of turn, and we're correcting for this situation where the container ship we're on rounded up into the wind in the channel and then got set to windward into the channel. It drove her up to the windward side of the channel. Now I'm observing the radar with the PI line, and notice now the channel marker is starting to work itself to the outside, and which tells me that we are indeed crossing back towards the middle of the channel. The gap here is closing, which means that in the long term we're going to be closing back into the middle of the channel. We're having to essentially track the ship back across the channel. There we go. And I've asked the autopilot to steer 012. It's on the money. It says 11.9, 012. So we're right on the middle of the channel right now because that's where we set our parallel index line. So we probably ought, at this point, now that the ship is stabilized, let's think about what we're going to do after the turn. And the parallel index lines can help you during the turn to gauge your turn as well. Now if those EBLs bother you, what you can do is you can preload them like that and then just turn them off and they're ready to go when you need it. There it is. Now the same goes for a parallel index line, and I can set one up here on this radar. It's down here in the bottom called parallel index, and I can set the parallel index line. I can say I want the to starboard and I want its distance to be 0.0. It's a very adjustable system, so 0.06 is what we're using for this turn. So we're going to use a parallel index line for this one. There's 0.04. Bump that to 0.06, and it's going to be on 351. So I'm setting the 351 here. Now it's configured. When I click the Act 1 button next to it, it pops up. So there's our parallel index line put in by the numbers. Charging up in here at 12.3. I need to look for, it's a short leg, need to look for the next turn, and need to set up the next set of PI lines. So the next set of PI lines are going to be here on this leg, which is 007. So I'm going to set up a 007 PI line. That channel is not as wide, so I'm putting it at 0.04, considering that it's a 0.08 wide channel, and we had already figured this out previously. So up to 0.04 now for this PI line number 2, and I'm going to put that one also off to starboard, and I'm going to bring it up. So that's our next PI line, and it's a different, of course it's dashed, you can see that. So here's our next parallel index line. Here's our set of ranges. We're holding in the channel. So there's 18. Here's the marker that's right alongside of us. I'm going to drop the range down, analyze this a little closer. We are keeping our distance just off the marker. I'm going to go ahead and come to port 2 degrees to our heading and line up 351. Here's the lower end of the range, and here's the upper range, and this is where we need to turn into. So we need to drive this new PI line into our new channel, which is going to be after this marker. So we're going to run this PI line to the other side of this marker, And this one right here, we're going to make that turn up into that channel. We're going to do it at 12.5 knots with this squirrely container ship. We'll see what happens. Up to the 1.5 mile scale, I can see the channel. Hopefully I'm going to cheat death on this one. We'll see what happens. Okay, 26 degrees a minute, ready to turn. I'm inside. I'm going to be on the port side of the channel. So it's okay that I'm oversteering a little bit. I am hard to port. And she's answering. Rate of turn's decreasing. I can see the PI line even in this crazy ship handling that I'm doing. I'm back now. I'm in the channel at 12 knots. I'm too fast. I'm going to slow down now to slow ahead and get her calmed down. And you can tell now the parallel index line is lined up right in the channel. I can see that we're going to be able to control her and run down this nice long reach now.